And so your question is, a lot of people want to take care of hair loss problems that while staying home. So can you share your expertise with us on this?
Yeah, lately, while we're all at home in this pandemic, I think a lot of people have been experiencing hair loss, and it's not in their heads, if you will, because when our lives get thrown off tilt, we as a species tend to grapple at the things that give us comfort and make us feel safe and secure and like nothing else has changed. And so, one big way that we as a population tend to find comfort is through food. And so, I'm kind of leading to the fact that number one in your hair care regime has to be your diet and your nutrition. But when we turn to comfort food, we're usually turning to sugar because that is what activates the brain's reward systems.
Mhm.
And this pandemic actually started a whole bunch of little pandemics within it. And one of those affected our diet and nutrition or lack thereof. So certainly I would start there. Know that what you are, what you eat is a very real thing. And if we aren't flooded with not only an abundance, but also a variety of minerals, vitamins, nutrients, it will eventually show on the outside, your hair, your skin, your nails. And so you can only imagine what's going on in the inside. Your body does see hair as one of the far more expendable pieces of your body besides like next to your vital organs. So it's never going to prioritize its nutritional needs above anywhere else's. And your imbalances there will show up as a sign that there's something deeper brewing. So as far as then, actionable steps of what to eat, I could probably break this down into like 5 key things that you could implement right away. And number one is you need calories. You need calories, you need good calories, and you need protein because hair is really metabolically active. And so it needs a lot of that input. A lot of sources of protein, though, overlap with a couple of the other things that I'm going to talk about as far as dietary suggestions. So I'm going to continue my list and then kind of tie this point together. So, number one, calories and protein. Number two, I would say iron. And I know that this is the biggest cliche deficiency. Like everyone has heard of iron deficiency. It's probably, I think it is the most common deficiency in the world, but we only appreciate the significance of this when it's too late. Hair quality is definitely impacted by iron. So we want to eat things that are really rich in it. Off the bat, we think of poultry, meat, eggs, seafood, and that's great. Those things are actually the most bioavailable form of iron that you're ever going to get. I'm all for plant-based eating, but the iron that you get from animal sources just is more bioavailable. You can get it from animal sources though. And so you want to eat things like your dark leafy greens, your legumes, your lentils, your nuts, specifically almonds, cashews, pistachios. And then you might need an exogenous supplement. So I think a lot of women in here, or there are a lot of women in here. And so many of us might be in our reproductive ages with really heavy periods, maybe. So if you're losing that iron every month, you are kind of fighting this uphill battle. So you might need exogenous supplementation, but it's always good to start with the natural sources as much as possible. And then number two is zinc. So this is really often overlooked, but it's important because it's a mineral that's involved in the development of the healthy follicle. So you want to eat things like pumpkin seeds and sesame seeds, but also the eggs, legumes and lentils that we spoke about, nuts, also sweet potatoes, mushrooms. And these are, or zinc, or these sources of zinc are really important because if you're ever finding that your hair is really easy to pull out or it's really brittle, chances are there's some kind of zinc deficiency going on there. So you want to look into that. Number three is another cliche, but the reason why I want to talk about this, and it's biotin that I want to talk about, is because this is something that everyone overdoses on, and you have to be careful here. So biotin, you can get it from natural sources, eggs, sweet potatoes again, legumes, nuts, like all these things really overlap. But people tend to go towards, those hair, skin, nails gummies. I don't know about you guys, but like I eat those, like I used to eat those like candy because they're good. And I was like, biotin, the more biotin, the better. And that is not the case. So what you want to do when you're picking up a supplement in this is you want to actually look at the formulation. And if it has pantothenic acid, so that's another B vitamin, you want there to be a good amount of pantothenic acid in your vitamin. And a lot of supplements, especially the gummy ones like Hair, Skin, Nails, not to throw anyone under the bus, but it doesn't have pantothenic acid. And the problem here is both those B vitamins are absorbed through the same receptors in your gut. And our body loves balance. It loves equilibrium and homeostasis. So you want there to be equal molecules of each of those B vitamins in your gut, so they're being absorbed equally. If in your body there's more of one than the other, your body's going to absorb more of the one that is more abundant because it wants to get rid of that and maintain homeostasis. But when that happens, it actually creates oily skin. You get acne down here on your neck, you get oily scalp, you'll find that you need to wash your hair more often, and your hair actually gets weaker and falls out. So that's why I really wanted to mention this, because it's something that not a lot of people know. And then number 5, I would say omega fatty acids. And this is another buzzword that everyone's heard of, but I want to mention it because again, it's important to know why everyone created these buzzwords, why they're so important, instead of just saying, oh, I know I should take these vitamins in general, but not really why or what they're doing. And so omega-3 and 6 actually cause a loss of hair, and they cause dry, flaky skin, and they can also lead to things like psoriasis and eczema. But if you have a deficiency in omega-3 and 6, you might be experiencing premature graying. And so if that's an issue that you're facing, you want to look into these rich fatty acids, and you can get them. Usually they come in like salmon sources, and that's how they're sold and marketed. But if you want to go the extra step, and this is like nutrition inside scoop, you want to do things like sardines, mackerel, herring. Sardines, like I don't even eat sardines, but mackerel and herring you could do, and sardines you can do if you're really, really devoted to your hair. I don't enjoy it, but it's good. It's so good for your hair, and it has more omega fatty acids per weight than salmon even. So these are just like underrepresented fish sources of the omega fatty acids that you really need. And like I was saying, I know a lot of these suggestions might seem cliche, but that's the thing, like nutrition is not a novel thing. It's been around forever, but we kind of underestimate it. So if you're listening to my suggestions and thinking, I've heard all that before, are you implementing it? And if you're implementing it, are you implementing a variety? I mentioned variety earlier. And the reason why I said that is because a lot of people will say, oh, I eat so healthy, but they eat the same thing every single day, and often for multiple meals in the day. And your body needs variety. The reason why there's so many different flavors and tastes and colors and sizes and shapes to fruits and vegetables is because they all offer something different. And so if you look at it that way and just think of it like each and every one of these ingredients in my fridge or pantry are giving me a different source of this bounty, the more that you can have, the better. So try and have that variety as much as possible. And by abundance, I mean you need to be eating like 7 to 9 cupfuls of produce a day. I don't even know how you do that. It is a big undertaking. And so at least if you can aim towards that and fall a little bit short, it's better. How many of us are having like 1 handful a day, right? And even that is like lettuce. So you really want to make sure you're just flooding yourself with nutrients.